Hey everybody, and welcome to This Week in Hell. You will notice a change in outfit between this and the next story, because I had to re-record this because there were some inaccuracies in my original script. But let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. I have opinions on this. They are contradictory, and manifold. I debated if I should even touch on this, but screw it. I'm not making money from it, so I may as well just say what's on my mind. The killing of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, and the public reaction toward the suspect, Luigi Mangione, has been interesting. I think we've all seen the footage by now. It's clearly Mangione, and he has gathered quite the fandom around him. People losing their minds online before he was even identified about how excited they were that he'd murdered this guy in the street. Because people are stupid. If you're raving about how awesome this guy is, you are, quite frankly, a clown. Go get the red nose and the big floppy shoes, because you are a clown, and I have no respect for you. He's no less of a murderer, because he killed a man who was at the head of one arm of a very large company that has also, quite frankly, been responsible for people's deaths. They have killed people. I think it is fair to hold them accountable for denying people coverage. Grandma dies, daddy dies, kids die. I think it's fair to hold them accountable for that. But there is a system in place to deal with it, and you have to work the system to get the results you want. You don't get to take the law into your own hands. It doesn't matter that Brian Thompson was the public face of that company. It doesn't matter that they had a reprehensible history. The anger is understandable, but not the salivating glee that comes with it. Killing in self-defense is both morally and legally understandable. That's not an argument that can be made here, unless you twist it into the most abstract way possible. The idolization of the killer began before he was even caught, as I said. That he turned out to be aesthetically attractive just made it worse. Quite frankly, people would be getting wet over the little creep. But that's not a new thing. We knew that. People are weird. Look at the swath of people in prison right now. The more heinous the crime, the better. Getting marriage proposals, love letters. The police that arrested Mangione received death threats. The worker at McDonald's that allegedly helped lead to his arrest has also been harassed. The company has been harassed for employing them. These are not the bad guys in this situation. Luigi Mangione is. In many ways, you could argue this marks a turning point for public attitudes in the US. This and the attempts on Trump's life recently show that people are a lot less willing to take crap than they used to be. Now they just have to take that anger, put it to work in changing the system that you voted in place. In the end, the fervor will die down. The courts will do their work. And this man is going to be punished for his crimes. Oh, and speaking of crime, Joe Biden has been on a pardoning spree this week. In one day, he pardoned 39 people, and an additional 1,499 sentences were commuted. These were people who were sentenced to home confinement during the pandemic. This was done in part to ease the spread of COVID at the height of the pandemic. And President Biden has confirmed that he will keep reviewing clemency petitions. In a statement released by the White House, he said, I won't do the voice. I don't really have a Joe Biden impersonation. America was built on the promise of possibility and second chances. And other things. As president, I have a great privilege of extending mercy to people who have demonstrated remorse and rehabilitation, restoring opportunity for Americans to participate in daily life and contribute to their communities, and taking steps to remove sentencing disparities for non-violent offenders, especially those convicted of drug offenses. That is why today I am pardoning 39 people who have shown successful rehabilitation and have shown commitment to making their communities stronger and safer. I'm also commuting the sentences of nearly 1,500 people who are serving long prison sentences. These commutation recipients who were placed on home confinement during the COVID pandemic have successfully reintegrated into their families and communities and have shown that they deserve a second chance. I will take more steps in the weeks ahead. My administration will continue reviewing clemency petitions to advance equal justice under the law, promote public safety, support rehabilitation and re-entry, and provide meaningful second chances. Looking through the list of clemency recipients, there are a few that might cause you to raise an eyebrow when you look at the crimes they committed. But the 39 pardons have already completed their sentences, so why not let them get the constitutional rights back? It's always seemed wrong to me to keep punishing someone when the sentence has been served. Seems cruel. And next up, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy follows Illinois and Minnesota. The spell check corrected that to minestrone. To Minnesota in signing a new law that prevents book banning in schools and libraries. This move comes after a rash of book bans in the states. At one point, proponents of such bans even successfully banned the Bible before realizing their screw-up. PEN America estimated that in the 2023 to 2024 period that some 10,000 books were banned from schools. The top 11 of those being, according to the PEN America list, 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult, 98 bans. Looking for Alaska by John Green, 97 bans. Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, 85 bans. Sold by Patricia McCormick, 85 bans. That's the title of the book. She didn't sell it. Well, she did sell it, but no, let's move on. 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. Crank by Ellen Hopkins, 76 bans, as did Jay Asher, a joint one there. Identical by Ellen Hopkins, 74 bans. The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, 73 bans. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, 67 bans. Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen, 66 bans. And Tricks by Ellen Hopkins, 66 bans. 3 on that list. Well done, Ellen. Good for you. I hope you have many books banned in the following year. That can only help your sales. I had to look up quite a few of those names because I wasn't sure on the pronunciations of some of them. I mean, who knew that it was pronounced John Green? Weird, but that's apparently how it is. Anyway, those are the top 11 books, just in case you want to add those to your Christmas list. And this next story is actually an update to one I covered a few weeks back. Colossal tosspot Ryan Bogwardt, who abandoned his wife and children to run to Uzbekistan, has been apprehended for being a prat. I don't think that was one of the actual charges, but he is. Ryan is a 45-year-old Wisconsin man who decided it would be a great idea to stage a kayaking accident to fake his death and then leave the country. After it became quite obvious that he was, in fact, not dead, the police began looking for him for a different reason. The Green Lake County Sheriff's Office made an announcement on the 10th of December that they would be updating the public on the case soon. At the time, the police tried to convince him to do the right thing, and that they were worried about him. Return to your family. As Ryan is a super genius, it seems he believed them, and official records show that he was being held in the Green Lake County Jail as of late. He appeared in court on the 11th and entered a plea of not guilty, good luck with that, and was released on a $500 bond. I wouldn't trust him if I were the judge, seems flight risky to me, but that's him until he has to go back to court. He actually tried to represent himself, until the judge reminded him that if he could not afford an attorney, one would be provided for him. What he will or has been charged with is not certain at present, but wasting police time and resources, spousal abandonment, and possible insurance fraud, as he did take out a life insurance policy before he left, are all things he's guilty of. How many of those are legally actionable? will remain to be seen. At the very least, Green Lake County Sheriff Podol has said that they want the money they wasted on looking for him to be repaid. Sheriff Podol also seemed happy to have brought a father back to his family. Let's see how the family feels about that once the dust settles. I mean, I'm really curious as to what's going to shake out during the trial. What motivates a man to do that to people he loves? Just abandoning them like that, like trash. And lastly, before In Memoriam, Hot Ones has been sold in a bold move by BuzzFeed. Or more accurately, First We Feast, the studio behind the YouTube show, has been sold to a group of investors formed by First We Feast founder Chris Schonberger and Hot Ones host Sean Evans. He will continue to host the show in his new role. Also among them were Mythical Entertainment and Sora's Fund Management, with more investors still to be named. First We Feast is, of course, best known for the show Hot Ones, where famous people are interviewed while eating spicy food. And if you've never heard of it before, yes, this is something that people enjoy watching. Personally, I like the interviews where people get distracted by cute puppies, but that's just me. I don't get off on watching people suffer. The deal nets BuzzFeed an $82.5 million payday. They actually only acquired the company itself in a deal a few years back in 2021, where they acquired Complex Networks. In February 2024, they sold Complex Networks on, but held on to the First We Feast property. Presumably they knew they would get a better deal if they shopped it around on its own. And lastly, today we have someone to say goodbye to. We say goodbye to the man known publicly as the amazing Kreskin, aka George Kreskin, a mentalist and talk show regular throughout the 1970s, and he even appeared on shows in more recent years. He was an entertainer. He didn't pretend he had special powers, just a lot of well-honed skill. He even offered a reward to anyone who could prove the existence of a hypnotic trance no one was ever able to collect. Darn, if only I'd known at the time. He used to do the check test, where he would have the check, the payment for the show, hidden, and he would then try to locate it. And in all the years of performing that trick, he only failed about 12 times. Of his own skills, he had this to say: "I am not a fortune teller. I am not a prophet. I really base all that on intuitiveness, the fact that I spend such an incredible amount of time with audiences and how they think. I very rarely look at statistics and what have you, because that doesn't really tell me the real state of affairs. But the bottom line is, I am a thought reader." He had no children, and he was not married. As near as I can tell, he never married. He passed away at his home in Caldwell, New Jersey, and he was 89 years old. And that brings us to the end of This Week in Hell. It's been an interesting one. We're getting toward the end of the year now, and personally, I shouldn't say this out loud, I hope the world generally is quiet. Everyone thinks, oh, it's a holiday period, we should all chill out and just relax. We don't need any drama. But the world doesn't listen to me. That's one thing that's quite clear. The world does not listen to me. So we'll see what comes in upcoming weeks. I'm not sure when Christmas falls this year. Let me check that. Yeah, it's on a Wednesday. I'm sure I'll have it This Week in Hell that week. The world isn't going to stop just because we'd like it to. Plus, that would be really, really bad for like the tides and gravity and everything. Anyway, I'm going to head off because I'm recording this one a little bit later. It's 4:24 a.m. But it's nice and quiet when I do that. And it's time I did the food thing. It's been a busy week for me this week, so I'm a little bit later than I usually would be recording this. I was having some work done in the house, but that's been taken care of now. So hopefully next week will be on my more regular schedule. Until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves.